Hey, I'm Patrick Anderson, and now we're going to take a look at the song All I Have Is Christ. This is a really beautiful song. We're taking it from the Next Live album by SovGraceMusic. It's most recently been recorded on the Gathering album as well, and there are a few little arrangement differences there, which we may talk about just briefly, but we're taking the Next Live version. So one of the things that I love most about this song is it so beautifully expresses just our salvation story. In the second verse particularly, but as I ran my hell-bound race indifferent to the cost, you looked upon my helpless state and led me to the cross. We respond in the chorus, hallelujah, all I have is Christ. Hallelujah, Jesus is my life. So the song is in 3/4, and so we have another 3/4 strumming pattern that goes like this. This is the pattern I would use. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's got a little kick in there, but if we broke it down a little bit more slowly and even talked about the directions, you can think too much about this, but if you really just pay attention to the feel and the directions as I describe them, you should get it pretty easily. It's not too difficult. Okay, so if we take this strumming pattern and describe it in terms of downs and ups, down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, like that. And if we counted it with numbers, with the actual beats in the measure, even without the strumming, down, down, up, 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 down, like that. You're going to always land on the first beat and the third beat with the down strum. That up strum comes right before the second beat, but if you just practice the feel, the directions like we described them there, it shouldn't be too difficult for you. So with this song, there's no, with this arrangement, there's no intro listed. We could just do a simple C, F, C, F intro. And there are a couple voicings that I could show you here. F often is a difficult voicing on the guitar, but I'll show you a couple voicings as we go through the song. But for an intro like this, I would do probably something as simple as this. My C chord here, and then just going to this, which you could call a C sus. I just put my fourth finger down, my pinky down on the 3rd fret, 4th string. So just one little finger change there. And this is a C sus chord, or it actually is an F major 7 over C if you're into that thing. But that'll get you through that intro. If you do C, the C sus, or F over C, C, back to that other chord. So I'll give you an example of how you would play through that intro, just like this, with the strumming pattern that we talked about. 1, 2, 3. See how we land on 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. Just like that. So there's the intro. Just a simple kind of C, C sus, C, C sus. So let's take a look at the verse now. This verse actually starts on a G chord. You have pretty typical chords in the song, nothing too unusual. G, A minor, F, there's a D minor in there, G and C. There's a C major 7, which we'll talk about in a second. And just to mention a couple things with C voicings, there's some great shapes which can actually give you a lot of color and a lot of body too when you're really strumming a little bit harder in certain parts of the song. So with the C, let me just give you a couple variations. Here's your standard C in the key of C, just like this. It's nice if you can, sort of lift up that finger for some color. That actually gives you a C2, or maybe technically a C add 2. That adds a little bit of color there. If I want to do some bigger strumming on this chord, I would actually take my 3rd finger and move it to the 6th string, 3rd fret, and put my pinky back where that other finger was. So it just gives me a bigger bass sound. So if I'm playing in the chorus and I really want to lay into that chord, I would do that, which gives it a little bit more body. That's just a simple thing that you can do. For the A minor chord, which often looks like this, you will see throughout the chart D minor 7 or A minor 7 or C major 7. With those numbers added to the chords, that can be a confusing thing if you don't understand how that works. Basically, it's just asking for you to add a certain note to those chords. It just adds a certain color to them. It's not necessary. It's kind of nice if you can do it, but it's completely not necessary. Now, in these style of chord charts too, if you see just a plain C and you feel like you want to add a seventh to it or something like that, one of those numbers, you can do it too. So it's a little bit loose in how that works, and it's totally up to your discretion. So the A minor, looks like this. This would actually be an A minor 7, just lifting the middle out of that chord. And I like this voicing a lot, where you add the pinky to the first string, 3rd fret. It just gives that kind of ringing sound that you get with a lot of the other chords, the G sus. So that A minor, this A minor here, this A minor are all options for you to do that are really simple. The F chord tends to be a treble chord for a lot of guitar players. They'll usually go to the bar chord, which is a great shape, especially for certain styles of music. It doesn't have the ring that's usually associated with this kind of pop or sort of folksy strumming style. So let me just give you a couple options for the F. I probably wouldn't do the bar chord in this instance unless you're really great at that and you love that chord. Some people will do this F here that just takes the front part of that chord and you bar the top here. I like to often play, that gives you a little bit more of a ringing sound, this F right here. It's like you take a C and you drop these 2 fingers down and you have just an open sounding F with an open high E string, which actually gives you an F major 7. You can also open up for some really beautiful color, that middle note there. That adds a 2nd to the chord, so you have a 2nd and a major 7. So there's a good kind of colorful F for you to do. I might do that in the verse of the song when it's a little bit more down, a little bit more calm. When I'm playing, really digging in on an F, I like to do this shape. You keep the openness of that top string, but it's like the bar chord without the bar, and you take this your thumb here and you grab that 6th string. It doesn't have to be pretty. I'm not, fully pushing it down like that, but I'm just grabbing the edge of it, and that gives you a really, really big sound there. A variation on that, if that's a little too tricky for you, would be like this. First finger, 2nd finger, 3rd finger in the bass, kind of like that big C that we practiced. So that'll work for you as well. We have a D minor in here, which looks like that. Other than that, all pretty standard chords. And again, those options I just gave you are things to help you play through the song, maybe with a little bit bigger feel in the choruses, or maybe a little bit more colorful feel in the verses. And you'll see me play those as just examples. And it's totally up to you which ones you use. So let's take a look at the verse. It starts on that G chord, so let's back up into the intro. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. I once was lost, A minor, darkest night, yet thought I knew, doing that small F to the C, the sin that D minor, this joy and light had led me to the grave. I had no hope that you would own a rebel to your will, and if you had not loved me first, I would refuse you still. Another measure of G, but as I ran, and we'll go on like that. Just a couple things that I forgot to mention here. In the first verse, you have this C major 7, which adds some nice variety. You have that line, I had no hope that you would own a rebel to your will. And it's a lot of C. It hangs on C there for a long time. That C major 7 is a beautiful color to add, and it's a really simple chord to use. You just take your typical C stock C chord, and you lift up your first finger, and that'll give you a great C major 7. you're adding that note B, which is the 7th, to a C. And so that sounds, and I hope that you would own a rebel to your will. Something like that. And just one other thing about the G voicing here. A lot of times we'll play G fully like this. I find in the key of C, I much prefer to play it like this, which might be a little stretch for you at first, but it's just so easy to go back and forth between those two chords, and you end up muting this 5th string just kind of naturally, which gives you an extra finger to do this great sounding G sus chord by just adding your 1st finger on that 1st fret 2nd string. So that's a great chord, and you'll see me use that a lot. So let's take a look at the chorus now. It starts on an F chord. Again, they're pretty typical chords, just 1 chord per measure here. Starts on the F. So let's take a look at that. I'll back up a little bit into the verse 2, which is exactly the same as verse 1. So we'll back up into verse 2 so you can see how those 2 sections are connected. You bore the wrath reserved for me. Now all I know is grace. We're going to build it. Hallelujah. All I have is Christ. A minor to the F. Hallelujah. Jesus is my life. We'll hang on that C chord just to transition into verse 3. If you ever have those moments where you're adding a little bit of space between maybe the chorus and the verse 3 or another verse, you can go between that C and that C sus, which is a really nice chord. So Jesus is my life. It can just, help it make it a little bit more interesting. So the rest of the song is very much like what we just did. The only difference in verse 3 is really not a difference, but it's just something that a lot of worship leaders tend to do and repeat that section of, "Oh Father, use my ransom life." So you'd be playing through verse 3 pretty normally like we might do verse 2. And when you get to "Oh Father, use," you tend to sort of drop it down. So "Could never come," verse 3, "from me. Oh Father, use my ransom life." Just simple. Any way you choose. Oh Father, use. Oh Father, use. And you start to build it up a little bit more. Any way you choose. And that just sets it into that section. And let my song forever be my only boast is you. So that's one thing that you can do that could, make for some nice arranging. So that would be a way that I might play this if we had a stripped down, if we were doing a stripped down version of it, just a simple acoustic version. If I was playing with a band, I would definitely play it differently, as we might have some other rhythm players, a piano player, a good rhythm section that could really drive certain parts of it. So as an acoustic player, I probably would not play for most of the first verse. If, say, we had piano going, if that was your place to do the first verse as the acoustic player, I would do it pretty lightly. I once was lost in darkest night. You wouldn't have to change the strumming pattern. Just play a lot more lightly, and that just gives you a great effect, and it's a really simple thing to do. But if I was sitting out that first verse, I would probably come in, if you had not loved me first, I would refuse you still. But as I ran my hell-bound race, kind of favoring these little brushes, looked upon, something like that. I'm not driving the rhythm yet because the rest of the band is doing that. And I think a lot of the problems that we run into as acoustic players and that you tend to see is that, well, even in the band, among piano players as well, you get too many people playing the rhythm part. And it just adds such beautiful space if you can kind of be sensitive to that. If the piano player is driving it, maybe back out a little bit. Certain sections don't play. Maybe verse 2, just start adding these, just brush, just a simple down strum, a nice relaxed down strum. And then you can really build it into that chorus. So those just are some tips for playing with a band, ways that you might shape it a little differently there. So I hope this has been helpful to you. My name is Patrick Anderson, and I will see you next time.